Hey there, everybody. I hope you're having a good time. I hope you are doing really good. Had a good day today, and you've had a good. This is the first day of the week. Again, I'm just going to keep going on this series until I get to a point where I'm tired, and I'm going to teach a little bit. I haven't been on teaching in a few days, and so I'm going to go ahead and teach. I really have a lot to say. You know, the thing about the heart is what I'm talking about, and let's look at that scripture again. Let's look at another scripture along with it. We'll look at Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7, if you want to go there and follow along. It says, well, I went to Romans 10 here. I'm going to have to go back to Proverbs, and I had Romans 10 pulled up. We talked about that, I think, the last time we talked. Well, yeah, looking for it. Proverbs 23, 7. It says, For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is far from thee. That clock is so distractive. I'm sorry that I'll look around every time it starts. I'm trying to see if it's fixing to ring some bells like that right there. And sorry that it's distracted to me. I love the clock. Um, it was not really my clock. It's my wife's clock, and it was in the family for years. And anyway, we'll not get into all that. But anyway, for as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Eat and drink, saith he to thee, but his heart is not with thee. And then we talked about several things about the heart already, but let's look at Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 23. Okay? Now it says, Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life. Now, when we talk about that scripture and we talk about the other one, we've already talked about the gatekeeper. Let's go back to that just for a few minutes. And let's establish a few things about the gatekeeper. I didn't really get into what I really wanted to. The thing about the mind and how it works. I do believe that the heart is in the mind because we think with our minds. I do believe that. But here's the thing about, and I think it's so important that we see this whole picture. Let's do that. Let's just talk about that. Let's just not go the direction I was going for a few minutes because I really feel the need to do this. When I was doing the study on what kind of beings are we, and I did a study on whether we went to heaven right after we die, or if we go to hell right after we die. I did a study on whether we go to if we go to be with the Lord right immediately after. We don't. We don't go anywhere right after we die. We're in the grave until. And I would not say this if I wasn't confident. I'm going to go ahead and say it, and it may turn a few people off. I'm sorry. I may get some bashes. I'm sorry about that, but really we don't go anywhere when we die. There's a misunderstanding of the scriptures. First of all, I don't want to get into all that. But what I've done, and I'll talk about it in some other type of series. We're not going to talk about that today. But whenever you die, you don't go directly into heaven or in the presence of the Lord. It's a misunderstanding, and, and there's a whole lot to that. This is not very simple what I'm talking about. The reason I brought that up was when I was studying about what man is, the very nature and destiny of man, is what I studied about. I actually wrote a book on it. I've never published a book. I never have published a book. I also wrote a book on the resurrection. And the reason why I'm telling you all this is because this is not something that I just pondered on for a little bit. I've thought about this for as long as I can remember. I'd say that when I first got saved at the age of 19, and I'm right now right at the age of 49, so that's 20 years ago. Right at 20 years ago, whenever I first got saved, I've studied from that point about how, as far as what we are, where do we go. And I've listened to doctrines of men all my life, but I've studied in my own personal time. I've spent 20 years studying on some of these things that I talk about. I don't tell you anything lightly. I don't take anything lightly. It's just like the teaching on the rapture and different things like that. I don't take those things lightly. I don't think we should ever take things lightly and start teaching people about it. And I think we should be very serious about the word and not take it lightly. But anyway, Sorry about that. Moving right along here. When I studied about, I spent over a year. I mean, one whole year. Just all I studied about was words, and all the way from one end of the Bible, from one end of the Bible to the other end of the Bible. Excuse me. Got the small hiccups. About um, what we really are. And I studied about how man became to be. And this is really important to this study. I mean, it's really, really important to this series. Um, Man, that's why I say we could get into the 100 or more about what we need to talk about. I may get really deep in this teaching because it's very important that we understand what man is. And the thing about the heart is man believes with a heart. And you don't just, the mind will think something, but the heart believes it. And in other words, you can believe a lot of things. When Jesus said the sword went forth to sow the word, and he went out and some fell among stony ground. When it came up, the sun burned it up and it went away, and some fell on good halfway good ground, but whenever it grew up, because the thistles and thorns were there, it choked it out. And then it said some fell on good ground. You know what that's all about? I'm going to tell you. It is where that people have not known God, and when the word comes, when it's on stony ground, it means they've never really they've never really studied about the Lord. They've never been taught about the Lord. They've never had any good plowing into the soul of the ground. And so, that's what's all that is about. And then some people have a little bit of the word in them. They know a little bit about God. And that's really, you should start studying about the Old Testament and the Old Bible when you're just a baby kid. Most people would not agree with me on that, but I would think that you must know the Old Testament if you're going to really understand a lot of things about God and who He really is and what His nature is. So, but anyway, they haven't had any teaching. They've not got anything established in their heart. They have nothing to draw off of. And Jesus then was talking about ones that do. And he said they're going to have something to draw off of. That seed's going to fall down into good ground where it's already been plowed and dealt with, and the heart's soft and ready. And it goes into the heart then, and the heart grabs hold of it, and it takes root in our heart. Because, see, we're going to talk about this. In our minds, there are thought processes. And nobody wants to talk about the heart from the mind perspective. But we're going to do that. But there's much more to it than just the mind now. And we're going to talk about that too. We're going to talk about what it is that actually is, what the whole point is about how this thing works as the heart, and how man's nature is, and what is man's nature, and how that all works. We're going to have to. We can't just talk on the surface about these things. We have to get down deep into these things and look at them for what they really are. And one of the things I wanted to talk about is when man was created, what he was really created to be. And let's talk about that. In Genesis chapter 1, when man was created, I don't want to go there right now. But it says that God created man out of the dust of the earth. And then he breathed life into the nostrils of man. And he became a living soul. Right? Right. And so most people don't understand how to separate salvation from this either. There's a lot of things here we need to talk about. But whenever we die, because Adam sinned, he sinned, God said, the day that you eat of this fruit of this tree, that you will surely die. Well, a lot of people can ask, well, why didn't Adam die that day? I asked that question. Why didn't he die immediately when he ate that fruit? Why didn't he just drop over dead? Well, the bottom line is that Adam did die. Death was the day that he took that fruit. Death was already sentenced to death. He was sentenced. That judgment was done. There was no going back. There was no pleading out of it. There was no changing it. Adam was going to die, and he did die. And God took Adam out of the Garden of Eden because what reason was it that He took him out of the Garden of Eden? Well, here's the reason why He took him out, and this is what God revealed to me. I didn't read no book nowhere. This is what God showed me when I started studying about all this. The thing is that He took him out of the Garden of Eden to keep him from living for eternity and being damned. That's what the Word says. It says He took him out so he wouldn't be eternally damned in that state of sin, never being able to have an opportunity to be redeemed from that. And see, this is where we mess up. We misunderstand the Scriptures and we teach people things that we really don't understand. But let's talk about what man is here in this. So if man, He said that from dust you came and to dust you shall return. That's what the curse was in chapter 3, I think, where all this started being proclaimed, or chapter 2. I'm not sure. I'm not going to go look it up. I'm not going to talk a little bit because I'm running out of time. Talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to close in this, and then we're going to go pick up another video. We're going to start another video here. But what He done was He told him, He says, listen, you you're going to go back to the dust. So he was going to die because he was cursed. It cursed him because he did disobey God. And so God actually told them then they were going to be saved, and going to be saved in this whole situation here. Oh, I'm losing my train of thought. Trying to make my point. I got off task. We're going to save this video. I want to apologize for me getting off task there. We're going to go right. It's really important what I'm trying to say, and I don't want to get off and lose my train of thought thinking about all kinds of things. But the bottom line is in the Old Testament, when God actually, when He made man, He made him to be something. He made him to be a living soul. When man dies, Ecclesiastes tells it very plainly that the spirit that was in man, that God breathed into that man to make him a living soul, that goes back to God. But man doesn't go back to God. The spirit of life that God breathed into Adam goes back to God. You can't make that be something it's not. Okay? You can't change the Scriptures. You can't make them something they're not. You cannot do it. You need to take it for what it is. Whenever man dies, the life that God put in him goes back to God. Okay? That spirit there is also translated the word breath. So when you stop breathing and you're dead and there's no more life in you, you die. You're not going anywhere else. You're dead. You're done at that point. Now, if you understand that there's a lot more to this than where we where we want to go. I can tell you, I guarantee you that some of the people that really believe in spiritisms and really believe in things that where we go to go into this next place of heaven. We don't go to heaven anyway. But anyway, we go to the next new earth. That's where the new earth and new heaven. We're going to live in earth. We were created to live in the earth. And that's where we're going to be at. We're not created to be angels, go into the heavens. We don't understand the truth. We're going to be right here. Okay? I'm not going to say we won't have access to it, but right here is where we're going to be on this earth. It's going to be, well, it may not be this earth, but it's going to be on earth, at the earth that God creates the new heaven and new earth. When He does it, we're going to be there. And so, anyway, I'm going to stop this video because we're about to run out of time, and we're going to pick it up. We've been talking about the heart now. I know that we're talking and adding a lot of different things in here that you probably didn't expect, but we're going to have to bring these things out to get where we can understand what the heart is. Okay? We need to understand the nature of man and what man is and what his nature is. I'll talk to you here in a little bit, and I really appreciate you listening. Remember, we're talking about the heart of the believer. Talk to you on the next video. Have a blessed day.